All right, how do you find your coaching niche? I'm going to help you get very clear on exactly who you're meant to serve as a coach and the problems that they bring to the table that you can help them with, and how to put this into a message that ultimately resonates with them and makes them excited to want to work with you. Because I remember as a coach starting off, that was my constant question, and I had it for years. Every time I would go and network and meet new people, they would ask me all the time, Byron, tell me about you. What do you do? And that answer would change every freaking time. And I bounced around all these different groups of people because, truthfully, as a coach, I recognized I could pretty much work with anyone as long as they were willing to do the work, as long as they were willing to look in the mirror. Like they're willing to actually get honest feedback from me. I could work with you. I could help anyone. I could work with just about any age. I could work with any background. And that's how the early days of my coaching business got started. I was working with such a variety of people from so many different walks of life. Kind of wild thinking back on it, but I was working with executives and I was working with teenagers and college kids. I was working with entrepreneurs that had never launched a business before, that had never even gotten started. And I was working with people that were making six and even seven figures in business. I had conversations where someone was excited about a business breakthrough they had, and I would hang up the call with them and then pick up and then talk to the next client, and they were going through a divorce and they were crushed. I mean, it was all these topics all over the place. And at first, I really thought, man, I'm helping so many people and I can really work with anyone as a coach. And it was true. But at the same time, I knew in order for me to get my message out there and actually reach more people beyond an immediate network, beyond people I was kind of prospecting, to really reach people online, especially, I needed to nail my niche. I just didn't know how to go about doing it because most of the advice I've seen, and maybe what you see as well when you start searching for it on YouTube and going to Google and talking to other coaches, and you're like, okay, how do I get clear in my niche? You get into this whole like customer avatar thing. You know what I mean? It's like a worksheet that you get most of the time where you need to fill out what's their age, what's their background, what's the color of khakis they wear, what kind of cereal do they eat on Wednesdays. You start getting into these really granular things. And now you've got this list of like 40 bullet points. And by that point, I don't know about you, but my motivation to want to go out and actually talk to someone like this has now become zero. And I start getting really in my head about who is it that I'm meant to serve. And that's not what I suggest with finding your niche. And if you've done any of that, I highly recommend going a different way. I'm going to give you a different strategy to find your niche that I learned and discovered actually through one question. But I'm going to walk you through this. I'm going to show you how to get it so clear so that when you do start to speak and share and get your messaging online at a greater capacity, if you wanted to really strike a chord with people, they feel seen. How do you get your ideal client to look at your messaging and go, that's me, that's exact dude? Are you in my brain? Like you understand me so well. And it does start with your niche. It starts with being specific and clear. And it has, to me, two parts. And these on the surface are going to sound really simple. We're going to dive into the depth of it, though, as we go, and you're going to see how to use them. So the first key to a really good niche is who. Who is this person? Who is it for? The other key is in the problem that you're addressing or the problem that that person has. Those two keys, let's dive into both. Let's do it right now. This is going to be awesome. Okay, for the first one, who is it for? Think of that along two lines. What are the demographics of that person? And then what are the values of that person? For the demographics, here's what I would suggest. Don't worry about getting too tripped up in, again, like the customer avatar, going through until you get to like left-handed lawyers in Nebraska making $252,000 a year that love playing golf on every other Sunday of the month, right? They love juggling in their spare time. Like, don't get it so granular. Instead, ask yourself this question: who do I get the best results with? The best results with, the best. Who do you help the most? That when you look at your client base, and when I say best, I don't just mean like the best case studies, like the most quantifiable, amazing breakthroughs. Like this person has made the most money. They got the dream promotion. They found their significant other. I mean, for you, who has brought you the most joy in service? Where do you feel the best as a coach? Where do you feel the most proud of the transformation you created for that person? And then ask yourself, well, who is that person demographically? Meaning, did it make a difference for you whether they were an executive or a lawyer or an accountant or an entrepreneur? Like, is there a professional role that you found really impacted the type of results they could get or the way they generated those results that brought you excitement? Or is it maybe more of a social role? Maybe it was because they were a mother or a father or a student. Think about the role that they play to society, how they identify, and how relevant that is for you. Then next, part of demographics is also understanding where are they in the journey? Meaning, is this somebody that is brand new? Are they curious? They're just getting going. They're just getting started and trying to tackle the problem, which we're going to get to in a little bit. Or are they somebody that's more seasoned? They put in more reps. They put in more experience. They already kind of know what works and they know a lot about what doesn't work. And they're just trying to get to a next level. Or there's somebody that's more of a professional. They've been in this world for a while. They put some real skin in the game. They've made a lot of investments already. And there's someone that's simply trying to hone in on a specific skill set. And so you start to dial in the demographics of that person. Maybe age matters for you. Maybe you're like, you know what? I don't care how old they are. Maybe you're like, you know what? No, what I find is most of the people that come and hire me, they're actually between like 30 to 40 years old, for example. For example. And that's who I notice I get the best results with. But start to pick apart maybe 2 or 3 of those demographic features that let you know this is the best person for you. But then the second half of who they are, and my favorite thing to explore really, are the values of that person. Now, when you start working together, right, most coaches will elicit their ideal client's values, right? In other words, they'll get to know, like, tell me more about what really matters to you. Let's get clear on your values because you're not clear right now, and then let's take you where you want to go. And that's awesome. But think about it this way. Doesn't matter what they have going for them. Doesn't matter if they're in the perfect demographic background. They make 7 figures. They have enough money, and they've even said, I want to hire you as a coach. Who would you never work with if what they cared about, you didn't care about at all, or it turned you off, or it even repulsed you? Like, who's that kind of person that's like, you know what? My goal is to go out and I'm a serial killer and I want to get as many new victims as I can in the next 20 days. I want to give you $100,000 for that. Here you go. What are the values of the person that no matter the amount of money, the willingness they have to be coached by you, it doesn't matter for you. It's an immediate no, because you know from experience, hanging out with that person would be the last thing you want to do. And I hope this is the type of individual you don't want to spend time with. Otherwise, we have other issues we got to talk about. But imagine having a drink, having a cup of tea, a cup of coffee, a meal with this person. What are the values that you share in common that light you up the most? Is it that that person really cares about creativity? Being artistic, being expressive really brings them joy, and it does the same with you. Maybe it's about a radical level of integrity. They always do what they say they're going to do. Maybe it's about being a leader. That's important to them. Maybe it's about being someone that's always in that growth mindset, someone that's always challenging themselves. Maybe it's someone that cares a lot about love for themselves, love for other people. Maybe it's someone that cares about authenticity and being real at all costs. Or maybe it's someone that cares about human connection. They're not going to do anything unless they're really connecting deeply with people. Think about the values that you share in common with your ideal client. Now, invariably, you're going to help them lean into those values more. You're going to help them go from maybe if they're a 5 out of 10 to a 10 out of 10 by working with you. But think about what at the very least is driving them. Are they interested in? So that when you both connect together, you share that joy. This is someone that you actually want to invest your energy with. This makes a big difference when we get to the problem that you're helping them solve, which is the second half of this. So we've covered who. Now let's transition. Let's talk about the problem. And this is where you really start to dial in your niche. We need a problem that your audience, your ideal client, actually values solving, which means you need to step out of coach mode for a second. You got to put your coach brain off to the side for this. Because in the coach world, we typically de-emphasize the problems of our ideal client. We de-emphasize the problem and we go, let's focus on the solutions. right? We're not going to dwell on the problem. And I remember having this conversation with a lot of my early clients where they'd be kind of sharing their challenges and what was going wrong. And I would interrupt them and be like, yo, I got it. You got some challenges here, but let's get to what you want to create. And what I didn't understand was this is just the psychology that most human beings have when we're trying to figure some stuff out. This is our psychology. We're literally trying to figure out, how do I get through what's not working so that eventually I can focus on what I want. And as a coach, I also understood the deeper problems. I understood on a very deep level that it might come down to their lack of alignment in their life, for example, or maybe they lack confidence, or that who they're being when they're out trying to grow their career or their business, you can tell like energetically if something is off about them. I used to say that's the problem, so that's my niche. It's entrepreneurs who have a confidence problem. But that's not the psychology of your ideal client. That's not how they currently see the world. That's not how they represent it. You want to be radically clear once you know who this person is. How are they articulating the problem? Meaning, what words are they using when they talk about the problem? Not what you see is happening or what you think is happening. What are they saying that's happening? That's the real problem that you're helping them solve. And that's what you want to put into your niche, because that's what they're searching for. That's what they're buying books on. That's the TED Talk topics they're interested in. That's what their brain is signaling to them. Relevant, pay attention, focus on this. And you want your message, you want that niche to land right in the middle of that. It doesn't mean you're going to stay there. You're ultimately going to take them deeper. And we're going to talk about that in several videos on this channel. But it means that you need to meet that person there. So what is the problem they're already paying money to solve? What's the problem that they're already telling you, I really want a breakthrough with this? I've already invested. Maybe I've already hired a coach. I've already taken courses. I've not just gone from like YouTube video to YouTube video or like book to book, but like I've actually paid some money for this. I'm serious about this. What does your market actually want to invest money in? That's important, because when you put that message in front of them, they will respond and go, yep, that's me. That's what I want. Now, the other piece of getting your problem clear actually ties back to your values. And I remember being at a workshop years ago where a good friend invited me there. And the whole question in my mind was, what's my niche? It was, who is my ideal client? Who am I meant to serve? And I had that question. Again, I had bounced around all these different people. And I'll never forget this question that I got. It was such a simple question. It was one of those direct questions that just cuts underneath all the concrete and gets right to your heart. And it was, what pisses you off the most? What pisses you off the most? And in that moment, what started pouring out of me is actually this business. It was both the coaching industry and how passive and unclear and even frustrated I was as a coach, that every time someone met me, I couldn't quite convey my value authentically and powerfully. I couldn't just say what I do and stick to that message. But it was also marketing and the sales industry and how manipulative and how tactical that world was, where I felt as a coach, like that's not my style. That's not how I want to grow the business. And I felt the two constantly at odds with each other. And what pissed me off was how passive and timid I was as a coach, but how manipulative marketers were. And I thought, you know what? I want to do something about this. I'm sick of this. And what started pouring out of me was the way that coaches were being taught to solve the problem. I don't have a clear message. I don't know how to get more clients out there. I don't know how to market myself authentically. And this is what I kept hearing from other coaches. But I kept coming up against this imposter syndrome. Like, who am I to help those people? I'm just a coach as well. But I finally looked at this and I looked at how much kept pouring out of me, because I realized I had a lot of values that were being stepped on with the way I was being taught to solve this problem. My anger and frustration with the manipulation and the tactics were going against one of my core values, which is radical authenticity. And the more I looked at how my other coaches that I wanted to work with were being taught to solve these problems in marketing and to navigate this, the more I saw the ethics and the values were not in alignment. And so when I launched this business, I made it clear as part of my niche, it's not just coaches who want to grow their business. It's not just coaches who want to get their message clear. It's coaches who value radical authenticity. Like the only way they know how to show up in the world is if they are walking the talk. They are embodying what they're talking about. They are someone that you can tell, oh, this is a real one right here. And that's actually not every coach in the world. There are a lot of coaches that talk about that, but there's fewer that really are committed to that. And that's the business. And that's what I'm doing. That's why I started this business. That's who I'm helping. And so what happened is as I start sharing how I help coaches, I'm creating a qualifier. I'm not just saying, yeah, if you're a coach, I can help you. I'm going, well, are you the kind of coach that cares so much about being real and authentic that you refuse to use manipulative tactics to grow your business? Is that you? Is that who you are? And that's who I started attracting. For you, dive into the values and ask yourself, what is your approach to solving the problem? Take it beyond just coaching. Take it beyond saying, well, the way I solve my niche's problem is I coach them. And let me explain what coaching is, because that's what every coach is doing. Instead of doing that, dive into your values at the core of the approach. So you want to start coming up with, hey, when I work with my clients, here's how I do it differently than what they've been taught. Here's the values that I see commonly and the approaches my audience has with solving the problem, but here's how I do it differently. Here's the values that are at the core of it. And here's what that means and how I go about helping you. And now you start to find your niche. It's that beautiful combination of who the person is. Again, to recap, think about, is age important to you? Maybe their level of income. Is it gender that's important? Is it their professional role or title that they have? Is it their social role? You don't have to pick all of those. Just pick one or two that you feel are most relevant and who you get the best results with. And then think about the values of that person. What are the top 3 values you share in common? And define them. Define them your way. So what does authenticity mean to you? What does compassion mean to you? What does creativity mean to you? How do you know if your ideal client is actually emanating those values or not? What's it like when you sit down and you have a drink with them or a cup of coffee? How do you know this is someone I enjoy hanging out with? That creates a really strong, energetic boundary around who this is for and who it's not. And people respond to that. And then the second part of this is you bring a problem to the fold, a problem that your audience, that these people are actively paying for right now. There's evidence that people are spending money to solve this problem. You're not just guessing, you're actually meeting these people at the level they're at with the challenges that they're coming across. And when you bring all these together and you have a unique approach that starts to speak to how you as a leader are helping them solve that problem, now you have found your niche. Now you're good to go. So go forward, create some momentum. If you have any questions, leave me a comment, but stay tuned on this channel. We're going to continue building your business authentically, building your confidence so that the way you convey your power, your value as a coach is undeniable, unmistakable. This is going to be awesome.